What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Dylan Matthews back at it again with the Hometown Take podcast. That's right, we are back and we got a lot to talk about. There's a lot going on in the world and a lot going on in the NFL. First things first, hope everybody is staying safe out there. Happy Thursday to you all. I hope this whole coronavirus thing isn't getting everybody too down in the dumps. We just all got to be safe out there. Wash our hands like we should be anyway. And, self-quarantine, really practice that self-distancing. That's really important. I think the biggest thing for me, just real quickly about this whole coronavirus thing, it's definitely a serious issue. You just got to stay safe. Just don't be irresponsible. Self-distance yourself, especially from whether it's your grandparents or your parents or just any elderly people, especially if you're young. And if you are an older person listening to this, thank you. I hope you enjoy it. And you should definitely be staying away from others just to protect yourself for sure. For me, I wouldn't feel, obviously I don't want to get it, it doesn't sound fun to have, of course, but the biggest thing for me is just trying to protect my mom and, my grandparents don't live in state with me. I don't see them often, but still just trying to protect any elderly person that I care deeply for. So that's my biggest thing. That's why I'm trying to stay away from them right now. But anywho, we are going to move on. Luckily, the NFL is in the off season because every other sport is canceled or suspended. So luckily, we got the NFL in their off season, and they're still going on with free agency. And boy, is it buzzing! So, in the first 2 days of free agency, aka the legal tampering period, we had a lot of things happen. Not just around the league, but for our Atlanta Falcons. This is the Hometown Take podcast, so I'm doing a deep dive into what is happening and what has happened in free agency for our Atlanta Falcons and how that's going to affect the draft. So here we go. Let's start with how we got some cap space to make a move I will get to in just a second. So everybody was saying we were in, and I use this with quotation marks, little finger quotes, in cap space hell or whatever people were saying. Basically, we didn't have no money. We were last in, I guess, cap space or whatever with $1 million of cap space going into this free agency period. Well, we made some things shake. We made some things happen, and we got some cap space. So what we had to do to get this cap space is we had to cut ties with two players who were really cornerstones and franchise pieces for our team for the past couple of seasons. One of them being Devontae Freeman and another being Desmond Trufant. Devontae Freeman, obviously, a two-time first-team All-Pro and Pro Bowler in 2015 and 2016. We cut him, and we saved a little over $3 million by doing so. Look, didn't want to see it happen. We wish Free is a great guy. You wish a guy like that, just character-wise and how hard he did play when he was on the field, you wish a guy like that could be a lifer for your team. I wish he could have been a lifer for our team, but it was the right move for the Falcons. Let's go into a year-by-year thing for Devontae Freeman. 2014 rookie year, we'll kind of toss that out. He did play in all 16 games, but he didn't have any starts, just 248 yards and a touchdown. But that was his rookie year. That was back in 2014. Still had Michael Turner, so he was just getting in. And we won't count that rookie year. 2015 and 2016 obviously were the great years for Devontae Freeman, and that's what earned him his big second contract. 2015, over 1,000 yards, 1,056 yards to be exact. 11 touchdowns, went to his first Pro Bowl and was first-team All-Pro. 2016, much of the same, even a little bit better yards-wise. 1,079 yards, 11 touchdowns again and again. First-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. Now, there's where things started to get a little shaky. Only missed 2 games in 2017, but only 865 yards. Touchdowns dropped as well, down to 7 touchdowns, which is still pretty good. Yardage, you would have liked to have been at 1,000, but, it's hard to rush for 1,000 yards consistently. He did miss 2 games. You could argue if he would have played in those 2 games, he might have gotten over that 1,000 yards. He didn't need that much more to get 1,000. So 2017, still fine, but 2018 is when we saw the real drop. This was kind of rock bottom for Devontae Freeman. 2018, only able to play in 2 games. Got hurt in the first game, then came back in that Pittsburgh game and did not play very well. Only got a couple of snaps in. Played in 2 games, only 68 yards. Obviously, no touchdowns. And last year, 2019, was just okay. Again, never got to be the same Devontae Freeman. He had flashes of showing explosion and that explosiveness and elusiveness that, really were showing in 2015 and 2016. But only 656 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have 4 receiving touchdowns, but still not the same production. And you could just tell it wasn't the same free. We were not getting the same free on the field as we were in 2015 and 2016. And you know the mantra on running backs. Once they get up there in age, once they get older, most running backs aren't the same. They aren't productive like they were when they first come out. And it just got to be that way for Free. Now, I don't think Devontae Freeman's career is over by any stretch. I think a change of scenery will be good for him. I think he can definitely be a backup running back. But just for what we were paying him, it was time for us to let him go unless he was willing to, restructure his deal and give us a much friendlier team deal, which, we still owe him money. So it just wasn't going to work out in Atlanta for Devontae Freeman. The time was up, but Free, I want to personally thank you for everything you've done. Obviously, you were part of that great 2016 run. Had a great year there as well, but it was just time. It boils down for Devontae Freeman. He just wasn't quite healthy enough in his prime, and now he's just not productive enough, not the same back. So sad to hear for Devontae Freeman, but he will find a home. Has not been signed yet by any team, but he is out there on the market, and I'm sure a competitive team will be more than happy to pick Devontae Freeman up at the right price. Now, moving on to Desmond Trufant. Wednesday, March 18th, he was let go and picked up in the same day. Actually, I think he was let go Tuesday, March 17th, and he was picked up Wednesday by the Detroit Lions, and he signed a nice little deal with the Detroit Lions. Got a 2-year deal, so he is going to be the new number 1 cornerback in Detroit because a little bit after that, Darius Slay was traded to the Philadelphia Eagles for some picks. So, Desmond Trufant, cutting him saved us about $4.95 million, almost $5 million. So over 7 seasons with the Atlanta Falcons, he had 13 career interceptions. He did have 4 interceptions this year, which was a career high for him. In 2015, he was a first-team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. He signed a 5-year, $68.5 million deal in 2017. He was just too expensive. The production wasn't quite there, even though he is coming off his best season interception-wise. The price wasn't right. We needed to make some cap space, and he just was a cap fatality, if you will. And the reason the Falcons made this move and just didn't, eat up that dead money and keep Desmond Trufant is because we've got some young guys that could be ready at the helm next year. Kendall Sheffield looked pretty good last year. Isaiah Oliver, even though he had a tough rookie season, did have some tough moments this season. He came around towards the end as well. So with Kendall Sheffield and Isaiah Oliver showing some promise, we got Ricardo Allen and DeMonte KZ. Both guys could drop down and play the nickel as well. So the Falcons probably feel like they're good at defensive back, and they needed to save money to make cap space to ultimately signing Dante Fowler, who I will get into more in a second here. Love the move, though, by the way. Desmond Trufant just ended up being a cap casualty for the Atlanta Falcons. He was just too expensive just to be a pretty good corner, because that's what he was. He wasn't a stopper. He's not any guy like Revis Island or even a Richard Sherman in the Legion of Boom days. He's just a pretty good corner. Could be a number 1 corner on a not-so-great team or a pretty good team, but he's more like a B corner. If we want to be completely honest with ourselves, more like a B-grade corner, a number 2 guy, and that's okay. He's still serviceable. He's going to be serviceable to the Lions. So it is what it is. He had to be a cap casualty. We just didn't have the money to pay what we were paying Desmond Trufant. So he had to get cut. He had to let go. We had to cut him. You dig? All right. With that changes up some things in the draft for the Atlanta Falcons. And I'll get into this a little bit later in the pod as well. We're definitely, I think, should still go pass rush in the first round. But with adding Dante Fowler and we let go of Desmond Trufant, we're probably going to go DB at some point, but we could go DB in the first round. I don't think that'll happen. I think we'll double down on pass rush, but who knows? We could see us trying to maybe move up, get a good DB in the first round. We'll see. I'm going to talk about that in a second. Also, some guys who left, though, for our Atlanta Falcons here in this free agency period. Tuesday, March 17th, it was that time. We already knew we were saying bye-bye to Vic Beasley, but he is now a Tennessee Titan. Signed a 2-year deal, I believe it was. The official numbers aren't out yet for the Vic Beasley contract, I don't think. So, Vic Beasley, we had a great run in 2016, but that was the only mentionable season. 8 sacks this past year in 2019. 2015, granted, was his rookie year, so only 4 sacks, but okay. But in 2017, 2018, only 5 sacks. In back-to-back seasons, you couldn't match your total, even tie your total that you had in 2016. 10 sacks in 2017 and 2018 combined, when in 2016 you had 15 and a half, 6 forced fumbles, and a touchdown. After all that, that seems like a fluke season. At first we were thinking, okay, 2015, you were just trying to, come into your own. 2016, boom, has a great season. And we think, okay, this might be the guy we will see for his career. This might be the consistent for Vic Beasley. This might be the constant for Vic Beasley. We might get this type of production out of him every year. And if we did, that's great. We found our guy for the long haul. But it turned out to be he was more of a 5, 6, 7, 8 sack guy for his career. And maybe he just needs to change his scenery too. Who knows? But as of right now, Vic Beasley is a Tennessee Titan, and that had to happen too. We were not going to pay Vic Beasley a bunch of money. Obviously, he was at the end of his deal. We were not going to tag him or anything like that because that would have been too much. We weren't going to pick up the option on him too much. So, Vic Beasley, appreciate your work in 2016, but you had to go, buddy. That's what had to happen. Devondre Campbell, though, he got signed today on a 1-year deal by the Arizona Cardinals. And Devondre Campbell is actually a guy I am sad to see go. He was a good player for us. Good linebacker. In 2019, last year, had 129 total tackles, 75 solo, 54 assisted, 6 tackles for loss as well. That's a good player. He's a good player. And he was on the up and up every other season, improving his numbers. So the Cardinals got a good player, guys. I'm going to miss Devondre Campbell. He made some clutch plays when we needed it most. A good player, smart player, physical, definitely could tackle. One of the best tacklers on the team, if I had to say, next to Debo. Playmaker. I'm going to miss Devondre Campbell. The Cardinals are getting a really, really good, really, really solid player in Devondre Campbell. So, Devondre Campbell, I wish the best to you. Thank you for your services as well. All right. Last but not least, the biggest mention for Falcons that have been lost in this free agency period, Austin Hooper. How about Austin Hooper, guys, securing that bag? 4 years, $44 million, highest paid tight end right now with the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns picking up another tight end. So there you go, Austin. You secured that bag. Hopefully you're happy in Cleveland. You got Baker. You got OBJ. You got Jarvis Landry. There you go. I mean, it's kind of like he joined. He's gonna have some openings. Baker's gonna be able to find him. OBJ and Jarvis Landry are gonna take up a lot of attention, just like Julio and Calvin. Mohamed Sanu, when he was here as well, gonna take up a lot of attention. Austin Hooper, we know he can find those holes. I think he'll be good in Cleveland. Gonna be a good outlet for Baker Mayfield. Austin, I wish the best to you. It ended a little bit salty between the Falcons and Austin Hooper, but hey, Had to happen. We weren't going to pay him all that money. We couldn't. We can't pay everybody. We drafted so well in 2016. Had other guys we had to pay. We had to pay Matt. We had to pay Debo. We had to pay Grady. We couldn't pay everybody. And Austin Hooper, just another cap casualty. I would have loved to keep him, yes. But the guy we got in his replacement, and if you didn't know, the Austin Hooper deal went down on Monday, March 16th. And a little bit before then, we traded for Hayden Hurst, a good young tight end out of Baltimore. Now, the deal with Hayden Hurst is I think he can be just as good and if not better as Austin Hooper if he gets those same opportunities that Austin Hooper got in Atlanta, which I think he will. We still got Julio, we still got Calvin Ridley, we still got weapons. I think Hayden Hurst is going to get a good opportunity. So here's how the trade went down between the Falcons and the Baltimore Ravens. We got Hayden Hurst and a 2020 fourth-round pick from the Ravens, so this year's their fourth-round pick for this year. Ravens get some picks from us as well, a 2020 second-round pick, 55th overall, and a fifth-round pick, 157th overall, when you want to get technical about it. So they get 2 picks from us. We get a pick from them, and Hayden Hurst. And again, Hayden Hurst going into his third year this year, a very, very team-friendly contract. He is in his third year of a 4-year, $11 million contract, his rookie contract. It's a team-friendly deal. We've got control over Hayden Hurst for a couple of years, so we give him this little tryout for 2, maybe even 3 years, and then if we feel like we need to sign him, we can sign him then. Super team-friendly deal. A guy who is going to be good. I have no doubt that Hayden Hurst could be just as good and maybe even better as Austin Hooper, like I was saying. If he gets the same opportunities Hooper did in Atlanta, he's going to be fine. Hurst was behind Mark Andrews in Baltimore, who had a breakout year in Baltimore, 64 receptions, 10 touchdowns, 852 yards. And Hayden Hurst still made his presence known. 30 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 349 yards. Again, this was only his second season this past year. Team-friendly contract. He was a first-round, 25th overall pick. So, obviously, the Ravens believed in him, and I believe in him, too. I think Hayden Hurst is going to be good. Team-friendly deal. Think we got a good player for cheap, guys. Great trade by the Falcons. TD, Thomas Dimitroff, GM, you're in your bag, man. You are GMing it up like you are GMing it up for your job. So hats off to Thomas Dimitroff, not only setting us up to win now, but setting us up to win for the future as well, which is what any good GM can and should do. Some guys we also let go of, not as notable, but, still going to mention him. We also let go of Luke Stocker, who was tight end, just kind of a fill guy, and the offensive lineman Ty Sombrello. 2 guys that, they had to go to, and they're probably going to go anyway. They just added to the fire, add up a little more cap space for us. So if you guys want to know the numbers behind it, after we let go of Luke Stocker, Ty Sombrello, and obviously Devontae Freeman and Desmond Trufant, we freed up about $14.5 million of cap space, somewhere around there. And after we re-signed a couple of core guys, rotational guys, Steven Means, Keith Smith, the fullback, Tyler Davison, the defensive tackle. Steven Means was the defensive end as well. So after we re-signed those guys, we had about $9.9 million in cap space, I believe the number was. And we were able to go out and get Dante Fowler. Obviously, first-round pick for the Jacksonville Jaguars back a couple of years ago, and he played with the Rams this past season after some turbulent years in Jacksonville. But Dante Fowler did have 11.5 sacks this past year for the Los Angeles Rams. That's what I'm talking about. Good job, Falcons. Y'all deserve claps up for that. I mean, that is a great move. That is what I'm talking about. Making impact moves like that. Signed Dante Fowler yesterday to a 3-year, $48 million deal. I mean, that's what we needed. That is what we needed. A guy who can just get down and rush the passer and who has been consistent in rushing the passer in his career. That's what we needed, and we got it. I'm proud of the Falcons. We are making championship moves again, and I love it. So, with us being able to go out and make this kind of little splash deal, that's a pretty good splash deal for the Falcons, if I don't say. After that, we're pretty much done. Cap space is pretty much all used up. We're pretty much done now. So, how do these moves affect us in the draft? Well, since we got Dante Fowler, it's not guaranteed anymore that we are going to go pass rusher for our first pick, our first round pick in the draft. Maybe now, since we let go of Desmond Trufant, as I alluded to earlier, maybe we go with a defensive back. So I was looking up some defensive backs that we could maybe get if we do decide to go DB in the first round. There's guys like Jeff Okudah, big time defensive back out of Ohio State, who had a great year this past year. There's CJ Henderson. There's Damon Arnett, also another guy out of Ohio State. CJ Henderson out of Florida. Trevon Diggs out of Alabama. All of these guys projected to go in either the first or second round. So we have a first round pick. We got a second round pick. We can make some moves. Talking about picks real quick. If you guys are wondering now, after the trade and stuff with Hayden Hurst, what picks we have left, we still have a good number of picks left. So obviously we still have our first round pick, 16 overall. We have our second round pick, which is 47th overall. We have a third round pick, which is 78 overall. Two fourth round picks, 119th and 143rd overall. And a seventh round pick, 228th overall. So we got some good picks. We got some room to do things here in the draft, guys. So I still think we should double down on the pass rusher because that is a huge gaping need. We need to improve that tenfold. So I think we should still try and go get a guy like A.J. Epinesa or Kaylavon Chasen out of LSU. Obviously, A.J. Epinesa out of Iowa. I think we should still go after a guy like that. But I wouldn't be mad at the Falcons if they go get a Jeff Okudah, maybe work out a deal where we trade up and definitely can go grab Jeff Okudah. This guy, I definitely believe he's going to be a stud out of Ohio State. Jeff Okudah, 3 picks this year in 2019, 29 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 9 pass deflections. So Jeff Okudah really balling out this year, I think is going to be a great pickup for the Falcons, if they can go up and get him. Had 8 pass deflections in 2018 as well. So this is a guy who's a ball hawk. He can get to the ball. He makes plays on the ball. So Jeff Okudah will be a great pickup for the Atlanta Falcons. But really, any of these guys, CJ Henderson, Damon Arnett, Trevon Diggs, any of these guys would be a good pickup for the Atlanta Falcons. So they could go DB. I still think they should double down on pass rusher. But also, with cutting Devontae Freeman, this definitely means the Falcons have to go get a running back, right? I mean, there's too many good running backs out there not to go get one in the draft. Go get a good, what's going to be a cheap running back as well, who, and we've seen it many, many times again, running backs coming out in the first round or these first-year running backs making big splashes and having big first years in the league. I mean, we saw it in Kareem Hunt. We saw it in Christian McCaffrey. I mean, there's plenty of guys who have had success in their first year and continued success, not just success in their first year, but continued success in the NFL. There are plenty of guys, especially now. That's been the trend as of late. These guys coming out early in the NFL draft, coming out having a great first season in the NFL. So there's guys like DeAndre Swift. There's guys like Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris, Cam Akers, J.K. Dobbins. All those are great names, and I would love any of those guys for the Falcons. But I really, really, really would want Jonathan Taylor out of Wisconsin. This guy is just a beast. Obviously, he showed he could be a workhorse for the Wisconsin Badgers. Just listen to these numbers. His freshman season, almost rushed for 2,000 yards, 1,977 yards, 13 touchdowns as a freshman. Played in 14 games. Sophomore year, played in 13 games, 2,194 yards, 16 touchdowns. Junior year, 2,003 yards, 21 touchdowns. Just been a workhorse. Obviously was a Heisman candidate last year and this past year as well. So 2018 and 2019, Heisman candidate. Jonathan Taylor can be an every down back, can be a workhorse. He's got strength. He's got speed. He is the complete package you will want in a running back. And if I'm the Falcons, I go get Jonathan Taylor. Period. You go get Jonathan Taylor. There's your every down back. You can keep Ryan Hill, who the Falcons did put a tender on. So if you want to know a little bit about that, Atlanta placed an original round tender on Hill, who was a 5th round draft pick in 2017, obviously. So What that means with the original tender, the Falcons would receive a fifth-round pick as compensation if Hill were to sign with another team during free agency. But because Hill is a restricted free agent, Atlanta also has the option to match any offer made by another team. So there's a little knowledge for you right there. Don't ever tell you I didn't tell you nothing or teach you anything. So they got options with Brian Hill. If they do want to retain Brian Hill, he could be a change of pace back, obviously. He had some good games with Atlanta. Started 2 games last year, had 2 touchdowns. He had some good games last year, so some promise. We still got Ito Smith, the judge, who is a good power back as well, and even Quadre Ollison, who was who who we drafted just this past year. So him coming off his rookie year, he had a pretty good start to his NFL career. Showed he could be a power back, get in there in between the lines. So we got some good choices at running back, but I definitely think we need to go draft a running back. I want Jonathan Taylor specifically, but like I said, DeAndre Swift, hometown guy, he would be a great pickup for the Falcons too. Freshman season, even though he didn't get that much reps as he was. Obviously, of course, he was behind, some other great talent there in Georgia when it comes to running backs. Still had 618 yards, 3 touchdowns. Sophomore year, his really breakout year. Over 1,000 yards rushing, 1,049 yards rushing, 10 touchdowns. And then, obviously, this past year, his junior season, over 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns as well. So DeAndre Swift would be a good option for the Falcons. Also, Cam Akers, a definitely power and speed back out of Florida State. Najee Harris out of Alabama. We already know what running backs out of Alabama can become, i.e. Mark Ingram, and obviously the rushing champion and crazy workhorse in Derrick Henry. So you can't go wrong with a Alabama running back, pretty much it seems like. We won't talk about Trent Richardson. We'll let that go. All the other ones have been good. Sorry, Trent, no shade, just truth. But Najee Harris would be a good option as well. Of course, J.K. Dobbins out of Ohio State would be a great option as well. So there is some depth at running back in this draft, and I think the Falcons are definitely primed to get a running back after cutting Devontae Freeman. So that's what's been going on with the Falcons here in these couple first free agency days. Had some tough departures, but also some great pickups in Dante Fowler Jr., obviously, and even Hayden Hurst. I think Hayden Hurst is primed for a great year this year. I think he's going to have a breakout season, probably the best season of his career with Matt Ryan. I think him and Matt Ryan are going to have some great chemistry. He's definitely going to get some opportunities with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley taking up a lot of space and attention out there on the field. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully the Falcons draft a running back too. The Falcons are in position to cover all of their needs. They got a pass rusher. They can double down on a pass rusher in the draft. So you get 2 new pass rushers in there. I think Dante Fowler is going to hit. And if you get a good one in the draft, there you go. Your pass rushing problems are solved. You need a running back now that you got rid of Devontae Freeman. I think you got a good change of pace back, as I said, in Brian Hill. You got power backs in Ito Smith and Quadre Ollison. So you go get you an every down back, a starter that is in probably Jonathan Taylor or DeAndre Swift, J.K. Dobbins, Cam Akers, a guy like that. You go get a guy like that in the draft. You hit on them. There's your running back, hopefully for the future, definitely for a couple of years, and they're going to be cheap. So the Falcons, I think, are in good position right now. You solved your problem at tight end, a very team-friendly deal with Hayden Hurst. So the Falcons are in a good space right now. I love what they've done so far in free agency. Hopefully they do not let us down in the draft. We see what they'll do. You can also pick up a DB. They're probably going to do that now that they let go to Desmond Trufant. I don't think we really make any more moves in free agency. So we'll see what happens with that. But even if they do go in the later rounds with a defensive back, there's still guys like A.J. Terrell out there out of Clemson, Jalen Johnson out of Utah, Jeff Gladney out of TCU, Bryce Hall out of Virginia. These are all guys who are projected in the second and third rounds. Bryce Hall in third, fourth rounds. So we'll see. They got options. Falcons are looking good right now. I think they're primed to have a comeback year. They better. Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitrov jobs are on the line. They know it. The team knows it. So I think they're going to rally behind those guys and really have a breakout season. I'm ready to see it. But it looks like the Falcons are primed for a great season. We'll see what they can do. Next things up is the draft. Going to be a very interesting draft this year. I do want to mention some other moves that have happened around in the NFL. One that's hitting close to home in our division. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers got what people are calling the GOAT in Tom Brady. that could be a little scary. I mean, everybody was saying it was either going to be the Chargers or Tampa Bay. Those are the two best fits for him, and he went to Tampa Bay. I mean, they got Chris Godwin. They got Mike Evans. They got an all right defense, even though Joe McCoy is now going to the Dallas Cowboys. Still got Levante David. So, I mean, the Bucs could be a scary threat. The Panthers have parted ways now officially with Cam Newton. They're allowing him to look for a trade. They got their guy in Teddy Bridgewater. Congratulations to Teddy. But the Panthers definitely did Cam dirty. Whew. Even though that is a rival and a division foe, still hate to see that for Cam, a Georgia native. So, but Cam will end up somewhere. He'll secure that bag somewhere else. So, no doubt Cam will find a team. But with all this Corona stuff going on, it's going to be hard to get a physical done. And I don't think any team signs him before they know where he's at health-wise. So, struggling times for Cam Newton, but he's going to figure it out. He'll get back out there on the field, just like Teddy did. And now Teddy secured that bag with Carolina. So, it's all going to come around. But, yeah, the Bucs, Tom Brady, it's a little bit nerve-wracking, but I think we'll be all right. Tom is not the same guy he was back in the early 2000s or even in these past couple of years. He's older, not super mobile, and now that we got Dante Fowler, maybe we'll be able to get to him twice a year. So we'll see what happens with that. But a lot of shaking going on in the NFC South. Panthers lose Luke Kuechly because he retired. Now they got Teddy Bridgewater after parting ways with Cam Newton. And obviously Buccaneers getting Tom Brady. The Saints kind of stayed status quo. They did sign Drew Brees to a 2-year, $50 million deal this offseason, but they staying kind of status quo. They made one big move, though. They got Malcolm Jenkins, former Saints player who was on a little stint with the Eagles, but now returns to New Orleans, where he did win a Super Bowl back in 2009. So Malcolm Jenkins coming back to NOLA. So hopefully, though, coronavirus won't put a delay on the NFL season, because I'm ready for the season already. After seeing all these moves made, I want to see them come to fruition. We'll see what happens. To recap, Falcons cutting ties with Devontae Freeman, Desmond Trufant, also Luke Stalker, and Tyson Braylow, if you want to put that out there. Oh, also want to bring up Keanu Neal has got to be on his last leg. 2 seasons where he's dealt with back-to-back season-ending injuries. Obviously, back in 2018 tore his ACL in the first game of the season, and in the second game of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles, he tears his Achilles, and that ends his season. So Keanu Neal's got to be on his last leg. Won't be surprised, though, if he doesn't even make it to this season with the Falcons, just because, love the guy. Keanu showed he could be a great player, but just hasn't been able to stay healthy in these past 2 years. And it's not necessarily his fault, but at the same time, the Falcons got to look at it as, this is a business. We need guys who are going to be out there. So hopefully Keanu can stay healthy this year, because I do love him as a player and a person, but he's got to be out there on the field. I think Keanu at least has to be in 8 games this year, probably more. You would ideally like to see him in 12 to 13, but at least got to be 8. If Keanu doesn't play in 8 games this year, he's probably gone next year. But we'll see what happens with that. But we get Dante Fowler Jr. Love that pickup. Really think that's going to help us in the pass rush. Get Hayden Hurst. That solves our problem at tight end. Could even be an upgrade. You can make that argument. And we will see now what we do in the draft. Again, I think we'll definitely go running back, DB, pass rush. I think we should go pass rush in the first round and then kind of feel it out from there. Second round, maybe go either DB or running back. Third round, address whatever needs are left over. So it'll be exciting to see. NFL season always gets you riled up, especially in free agency. Can't wait for the draft coming in April. Hopefully they can still have it on time. Make sure you like this video, comment, tell me what you think the Falcons should do in the draft. Tell me what you think the Falcons will do in free agency. If you think they're going to make some more moves, tell me if you like the moves the Falcons have made already. Do you like the Hayden Hurst deal? Do you like picking up Dante Fowler Jr.? Tell me what you think. Tell your friends about the podcast. We're trying to go worldwide out here, you dig? But until next time, guys, peace.